Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good day today. I'm going to start off with a couple of announcements. Giddy. A couple of announcements. First of all, actually, it's really just one announcement. It's schedule changes. So I'm starting part 3 tonight, which is very exciting. It's the last part. We are getting down to the wire. What is that? Lesson 61, and there's 70 something lessons. So we're making really good progress through this. But life is exhausting. Monday and Tuesday, I'm currently working very long days because I have to record Mass in the evening. And so I'm not super always feeling up to streaming on Tuesdays, accordingly. Sunday morning, I'm finding myself would much rather stay in bed or go to Mass, depending on what our weekend plans are. So we're going to try to do Learn Latin in a Year Fridays right after I get off of work around 5 p.m. Central Time. So I've updated the Google Calendar, updated the stream info, and just try and stream for an hour on Fridays. Hopefully it will not be too daunting, but during the week and the weekends it's just not working out with my schedule right now, unfortunately. If Punch and I don't have anything going on Friday at 7, we'd still be doing Golden Sun, but that varies week by week, as we all know right now. Anyway, yes, I'm trying very hard to keep the Google Calendar at least somewhat relevant to our lives. So I've just updated it just before I went live. So with that major announcement out, and so the next time I will see you will be Friday, we will do 1, maybe 2 lessons. I haven't looked ahead to see what they are, but just aim to stream for about 30 minutes just to get our feet wet again, and then I can go get dinner. Yay! Oh, and thanks for the sub, Mr. Bushido! 14 months is very sweet of you. I hope you're having a good day, as are you, Roz. I asked in chat, but again, hope you and everyone else is having a nice day. So, Latin, Part 3, Constructions. It's a bit of a misnomer, and by that I mean Part 2 was about words and forms, so focusing on what's known as morphology, the shape of the words. Did I say shape? I hope I said shape of the words. We still have some morphology to learn, as our textbook here points out. Boop. There remains still to be learned the forms of the subjunctive mood, the participles, and the gerund of the regular verb, and the conjunction of more common irregular verbs. Sorry, I changed your English there. But even though that is words and forms, the author is going to take them up in connection with the study of constructions or syntax or how we put words together to mean things. Super, super, super important. So if you're reading along, definitely do memorize that vocabulary in the first part of the book. And on page 204, he's going to be starting a little story that you can read along on your own. So definitely take the time to do that self-practice if you're trying to get ahead. Right, commoners. I have never heard commoner to mean more common. It's one of those, it's a 2-syllable word. You should be using more to express comparison. But whatever, here we go. The subjunctive mood. Jumping right into it. Good. More common would be vulgar. In case you've got a point, Ross. All right. So the subjunctive is a mood of the verb. So a verb has person, I, you, we, they, etc. Number, singular, plural. Person, number, tense, present, future, whatever. Voice, active, passive, and mood. We've done indicative, that's used for simple statements or simple questions. Imperative, when you command somebody. Infinitive, which is to blank. It gets used in certain types of clauses. But there's also the subjunctive mood. The subjunctive mood is used in a lot of subordinate clauses. So you have main verb, main subject, main verb, and then some sort of purpose clause or result clause. I did this so that blah, 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 blah. I filmed the evening mass so that people at home could watch. In English, I just use the subjunctive. Latin does the same thing. Result and purpose. It also gets used in a couple independent subjunctives that express an idea that is less concrete. So by independent subjunctive, I mean the main verb, main subject, main verb. That main verb is in the subjunctive instead of the indicative. And again, that's used generally for more notional ideas. For example, wishes. Might this happen? That would be great. So, there are 4 tenses of the subjunctive in both active and passive voice: present, imperfect, perfect, and pluperfect. There is no future or future perfect in the subjunctive because that wouldn't make any sense, because the future is already a little indefinite. So a subjunctive future would be redundant. All right, the tenses of the subjunctive have the same values, and in addition, each of them may refer to a future tense. Again, there is no future in the subjunctive. The meanings of the tenses will be given in context, as the translation varies with the construction used. That's very important. The way that you translate the subjunctive depends on how it's being used in the sentence. It's not like the indicative, where a present is a simple he walks or he is walking. What kind of clauses it is it in? How is it being used? That determines how you translate it, because in English, all of these clauses are translated differently. So, you have to learn to recognize the types of constructions before you can translate. And on that logic, it makes a lot of sense that he would wait to do subjunctive until we got to the construction sentence. You can't really translate it on its own. You need it to be in a construction. But how do you form it? Just simply, what does it look like? In the present subjunctive, all that's different is the vowel. So we have the present stem, the vowel of that particular conjugation, and then the personal endings mst, mustis, ent, or ar, rist, her, murminy, enter. Usually it's an O for present, but the subjunctive takes an M here. Okay. The vowel for first conjugation is an E, second conjugation is an EA, third conjugation is an A, and third IO, and fourth or IA. So there's just a different vowel in between the root and the personal ending. The phrase to remember it is we fear a liar. We, first conjugation E. Fear, second conjugation EA. A, third conjugation A. Liar, fourth and third IO conjugation IA. We fear a liar. That's the vowel that you have in the subjunctive word. That is also why it is super, super, super important to remember which conjugation a verb is in. If you do not know if a verb is a first or a third conjugation, and you were to see regam, well, let's not use regam, that's a bad example. If you were to say regat, you might think it would be indicative first conjugation, rego, regas, regat. But you'd be wrong. It is a third conjugation verb, so when you see an A, it is subjunctive. But you only know that because you know what the second principal part is. So, super important to remember conjugations and principal parts. There's nothing subjunctive in that sentence, is there? That is true. We fear a liar does not have it. It is a simple indicative, but it tells you all the vowel shifts. So take it as you would. If you can think of a nice paradigm that would use a subjunctive in it, that would be great. It would do a double purpose. The problem is then you would need an independent subjunctive, because an example sentence that would have a subjunctive in a subordinate clause would be much too long. You would have a lot of words that were unnecessary. But most of the ways to translate an independent subjunctive would have a word like might or should, and neither of those words get you anywhere close to what you need to do for the vowel shift. I just don't know how to remember which mnemonic goes with which concept. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Maybe I'm just learning Latin casually instead of being serious about it. How dare you? Punch is laughing at me for some reason. No, I mean, your point is totally well taken. Some of the mnemonics are very clear. So again, Deek, Duke, Fuck, and Fair, drop the E that should be there for imperatives. That rhyme explains itself because Deek, Duke, Fuck, and Fair are the four forms that you need to know for the imperative. After si, nisi, nomine, all the alleys fall away. For aliquid, aliquis, aliquid. Again, there's a lot more information in that mnemonic. We fear a liar, there's really no context. So you're not wrong. You just have to remember it, which students hate hearing from their teachers. I know. Just memorize it. Present subjunctive formed from the present stem. The mood sign of the present subjunctive is E in the first and A in the others, in some sort of form. Personal endings are the same. Okay, fine. Oh, and here's the irregular present subjunctive for to be, sum, sim, sis, sit, simus, situs, sint. So SI and then the personal endings. Tricky, again, because it's extremely irregular. It doesn't really look like sum or s. I mean, kind of looks like sum, but kind of different too. It also has an I, which is not a vowel that we really focus on in the subjunctive otherwise. To be honest, I explore modern languages and Latins mainly just so I can understand some of the why. That is 100% fair. What is interesting, at least I've heard this, I don't remember, I think it was from Learn to Read Latin, Keller and Russell, so a legitimate textbook, but I would have to verify this is where I read it. The reason that the subjunctive of sum looks like it does is because it's actually the optative, which is a third mood. Greek has retained all the moods, indicative, subjunctive, and optative. And the optative in Greek is the hint that you're dealing with the optative is that it has an I in it. And so it seems that the Latin retained the optative of sum, but uses it as the subjunctive. And I don't know what happened to the subjunctive. It just disappeared, I guess. Fun times. All right. So now we're comparing indicative and subjunctive. Okay, two most important of the finite moves are indicative and subjunctive, which makes sense because there's only three, and the other one is imperative, which is a command, and that's used in pretty specific context. The indicative deals with facts that are real or assumed, so something that we believe happened. So we wish to assert something as a fact, we use the indicative. If we wish to express a desire, wish, purpose, possibility, expectation, we use the subjunctive. It makes it less vivid. It's one step removed from actual reality. So indicative, fortis est, he is brave. Fortis sit, may he be brave. So you're wishing, let him be brave, encouraging. Let us set out at once. Quotidie eum audis, you hear him every day. Every day you're going into town, you hear this guy. Quotidie eum audias, you can hear him every day. You might hear him every day if you go looking for it. It's possible. Oh, here we're actually getting a whole clause, which is good. It's a relative clause that uses the indicative versus a relative working as purpose. So Caesar metit homines qui pontem reperiant. Caesar sent the men who find the bridge. He sends men who find the bridge. It's a way of describing who the men are. He sends the men. Which men? The men who find the bridge. But on the other hand, Caesar homines metit qui pontem reperiant. Caesar sends the men who are to find the bridge. This is their purpose for being sent out. He sends them to find the bridge. That's using the subjunctive. All right. Well, I guess since we already did that in the previous sentence, we'll do the next lesson too. Because this last sentence was the subjunctive of purpose. And the next section is subjunctive of purpose. So is that first one, the men who will find the bridge, meaning that you can only use the sentence when you are an all-knowing narrator? No, I think it's actually saying, like, these are the men who are designated to find the bridge. These are the men who find bridges. That is what defines them. They are the bridge finding crew. So he sends them out. Or is it sends to people who are already known? Yeah, exactly. It's more of these are the bridge finders. It's a really weird sentence. And he just was using it as an example. I don't know that there would ever be such a sentence constructed, because generally there are not people known for being designated bridge finders. But it does distinguish it from when Caesar sends them in order to find a bridge. It's awkward socially, but makes sense grammatically. Absolutely. Like much Latin. All right. Observe the sentence. So here we go. We're going to talk about the sentence that you would actually see. Caesar homines metit qui pontem reperiant. Caesar sends men to find the bridge. The verb reperiant is the dependent clause in the subjunctive because it tells what Caesar wants the men to do. Not that they necessarily will, they might fail, but this is their purpose. In other words, it expresses his will and the purpose in his mind. It's called the subjunctive of purpose. Ta-da! The subjunctive is used in a dependent clause to express the purpose of the action in the principal clause. Why did Caesar find the men? Why did Caesar send the men to find the bridge. I almost said, why did Caesar find the men to send the bridge? And that would make even less sense than Caesar sends the men who find bridges. Okay. So how do you introduce a purpose clause? What words do you use? Well, you'll have your main subject and your main verb, and then usually you'll use ut in order that, but you can use, as we did in this sentence, qui, a relative clause. But the way you distinguish between a relative clause and a relative clause of purpose is whether the verb is indicative or subjunctive. So again, you could use quo, by which he might do this. Less common, if your purpose is negative, if you do something so that it not happen, you use ne. Ut and ne are the most common. Ut for that he does this, and ne that they don't do this. So let's look at some of the examples. Kaiser copias cogit quibus hostis insequatur. He sent the bridge to find the men. Yar. Kaiser. Oh, wait, do you want to use past tense or present tense? Because so far we've been using present tense, because we only have been using the present subjunctive. Punch is not fully paying attention. Right. He sent to the bridge to find the men. Oh, that's really messed up. Like he sent a letter to the bridge? Dear bridge. We're going to keep it in the present for now. So Caesar sent the bridge pontem qui milites, no, it's homonyms. Homines reperiat. Yes? Just double checking which verb we're using here. Reperiat. There we go. Caesar sends the bridge to find the men. Okay. Anyway, back to our examples here. Kaiser copias cogit quibus hostis insequatur. Caesar gathers the troops with which to pursue the foe. So quibus is our relative pronoun referring to the copias, the troops by which he can pursue, by which to pursue the enemy, hostis. With which to pursue the foe is probably the best way to render it in English. The captain then paged them. Pacem petent ut domum revertanter. They seek peace. Peto, pacem, call for a truce, seek peace, in order that they may return home, or maybe they seek peace to return home. Right? They want to go home. Pontem faciant quo facilius oppidum capiant. They build a bridge by which to more easily capture capiant facilius, the town, oppidum. So these are all the purpose for which they do that first main verb. Fugiant ne vulnerenter. They flee so that they not be injured. They flee lest they be injured, and it's very exciting to get to use lest. So, main verb, uter ne, or relative pronoun, subjunctive verb telling why you do that first verb. That's the expression of purpose. In English, how do we say English thing? Purpose clause, that, in order to, simply using the infinitive. Purpose is never expressed by the infinitive in Latin prose. Be on your guard and do not let the English idiom betray you into this error. I love this guy's final sentence there. It is super important that you never assume that the way English phrases something is the way that Latin is going to want to phrase something. When it comes to these complex structures of purpose, result, wishing, conditionals, indirect statement, indirect questions, Latin has its own way of expressing things that is unique from English. So do not be betrayed. All right. Good. All right. So that is it on purpose clauses and the present subjunctive. Just, you're not going to make this mistake, but in case you're tempted to, in today's lesson, we used present tense main verb alone because we only know the present subjunctive. When that main verb changes tense, we will have a different tense in our purpose clause. So if we have a present tense main verb, well, technically it's called primary tense and secondary tenses. If any of the primary tenses are the main verb, we use the present subjunctive. If any of the secondary tenses are the main verb, like the imperfect or the perfect, no, yes. Imperfect. Yeah, or perfect, I think in this case. We would use the imperfect subjunctive. We'll see that later on. I'm sure he goes into the secondary and primary tenses. No, don't make any mistakes, Roz. It is forbidden. Alright, next time we'll learn the imperfect subjunctive, which is also super important, and learn where that gets used, which is anywhere. Oh, okay, that's not true. I was about to say anywhere the present subjunctive can be used, but that's not true. There are certain things that certain subjunctive tenses are solely in charge of. So we do have to learn one thing at a time. Right now, all we know is the present subjunctive, and that purpose clause uses the present subjunctive when you're using a present tense verb in the main clause. That is all we know right now, and that's all you should remember for Friday. Friday, I'll see you around 5 o'clock, and we will do imperfect subjunctive, and I'm going to guess. Oh, and there's our sequence of tenses. So we'll clarify what I've babbled on about in a little bit. And then probably, yeah, go ahead and finish out the perfect and pluperfect subjunctive and some more purpose business. So thank you all very much. Is anybody still online? Because I think Ozzy stopped, which was what my plan was. He stopped? Yeah, that's what I thought. Bummer drag. So next time, later.